right, we will wait for a minute to let everybody join. Good morning and good afternoon to everybody who's joining.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Cindy. All right, we have a lot to cover, so we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, good afternoon. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today on how to curate the perfect learning plan. Before we get started, I want to just quickly share this conferences IO code and link for you to ask any questions that the team will answer towards the end of the webinar. So quickly, you can either scan the code or you can navigate to lcvwebinar.cnf.io. And if you have any questions along the way, just submit them and upvote any questions that are already there. Right. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to the speakers to introduce themselves.
Okay, great. I'm first, so I will go ahead and start. Hello, everyone. I'm Danielle McCormick. I'm the founder and CEO of Spiirall. A special hello to all of our Spiirall clients that are on the call today. I see lots of familiar names and friends, so thanks for joining us today. Anna, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you, Danielle. I'm Anna Howard. I'm the Director of Learning Strategy at Spiirall, and today my part of the presentation will be focusing on learning plans and competency frameworks. I look forward to it. Tony?
Hello, everyone. Tony Williams. I'm the Business Development Manager with LCvista, and today I'll be covering what we're hearing from the market in regards to learning plans. Hand it off to Micah.
Thanks, Tony. Hi, everyone. My name is Micah Grieve, and I am a Senior Product Manager on the LCvista team. And I'm going to briefly speak to just building learning plans in LCvista and share some best practices. And I'll pass it to my teammate, Adrian.
Yeah, thanks, Micah. Hi, everyone. My name is Adrian Samanek. I'm a newer member of the LCvista team. I'm here as the product manager responsible for our content marketplace project. Super excited to be here today. I'll hand off to Cindy.
Hi, Adrian. I'm Cindy Hessling. I'm with LCvista, and my title continues to evolve, but currently I'm kind of an industry advocate, client advocate, and so I'm happy to be here.
And it looks like we lost our host.
Yep, little technical issue.
But she's back.
I got booted, sorry. Let me share the presentation. Sorry about that. Are we done with introductions?
Yes, we're just going to hand it over to Tony to start talking about what we're hearing and why we're even putting this on.
Right. Over to you, Tony.
Sure. So by engaging with our potential and current customers, the LCvista team receives a lot of valuable insight and gathers feedback on an ongoing basis. So these are some of the consistent things that we're hearing from the market. A big one that I especially hear working with our prospective clients is that many firms want to implement learning plans, but they aren't quite sure where they want to begin. So many of these firms recognize the value of implementing these learning plans, especially to enhance their employees' skills, stay current with industry standards, and improve overall performance. However, they often face challenges in starting this process effectively. Another challenge we hear is that identifying the specific skill gaps and learning needs across the different levels and departments within the firm can be daunting due to the complexity and diversity of roles, requiring a detailed and nuanced understanding of each team's unique requirements and challenges. Additionally, aligning these needs with overall business goals adds another layer of complexity to that process. And then there's the designing of the learning plan. So designing effective learning plans does require significant time, as many of you that have built them know, as well as resources. And so many struggle with things including the actual content creation, trainer selection, and program management. And then when you're crafting the plans, you not only want to educate them, but you also want to engage your staff. That way you're ensuring high completion rates and effective learning and knowledge retention. But that can also be a major hurdle. And then a few more things that we're hearing are the teams are willing to build these learning plans, but again, they're struggling with curating that content. And in order for it to be successful, they do need the buy-in from stakeholders, especially when it comes to level training. Good news is that many firms are using or starting to use learning plans, especially with onboarding. So this allows them to easily assign and track mandatory HR compliance training, IT trainings, and even some of those level trainings. And then we're hearing that firms that have successfully implemented learning plans have seen a significant increase in engagement and learning retention. And for us, that's really just a testament to the fact that well-structured and targeted learning opportunities that address employee-specific needs make the training more relevant and motivating. And so this relevance enhances employees' commitment to the learning process and ensures that the acquired knowledge is effectively applied to their roles, leading to better performance and satisfaction. We'll hand it over to Danielle.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, so some of you know what Spiral is, and some of you are like, who's Spiral and why are these women on this call and what the heck is going on here? So very quickly, we are partners of LCvista. Spiral is an outsourced learning and development partner. So we know that firms really want to create meaningful learning experiences for their employees. Most just really struggle to have the resources to do so. So we partner with firms in order to bring in a lot of additional muscle to address a lot of the challenges that honestly, just most people within firms don't necessarily have the time to do so. And Anna will talk a little bit more about that. But in our outsourced offering, automatically LCvista is part of our offering. We would never dream of moving forward with a service like that without the partnership of LCvista. We know they're the best. And so we work closely together in the development of learning plans, which is why it made sense for us to join forces in presenting this webinar to you, because, and we are actually in the heart of our learning plan building season. We launch all of ours for our clients October 1st. So Anna will speak to that process, but I think we're building couple hundred learning plans right now. So we have a team of 15 people plus a handful of contractors that are doing this work. So we feel your pain, but we also feel the joy and know why it's worth it. So this quote here is one of my favorite quotes. Any of you who have ever heard me speak have probably heard me use this quote, and it is, all organizations are perfectly aligned to get the results they get. From Arthur Jones. Arthur Jones is an Australian who has a lot of really fantastic insights on this. But anywhere we're getting a consistent result, it's because we have a fantastic process to get us there. Fantastic doesn't mean that it's actually positive. It just means it's fantastically consistent. So anywhere we're either celebrating or we're consistently banging our head against the wall, guess what? It's because we have a fantastic process to be able to get us there. We have systems that are aligned. And in the work that we do with Spiral, what we tend to find when we get called in to be able to partner with the learning team is, okay, here's the problem. There's all this content that's out there, and we're utilizing content from all of these providers, right? So we pull a little from some of our internal content. We pull a little from Surgent or Becker or from Convergence Coaching or Upstream Academy, all of these really, really great content providers. And every single time there's a need, someone in your tax department or audit department says, we need more training on this. So then you go out and you find another class in order to try to bring that in, or you build it out, right? But what ends up happening is across the firm, we have this fragmented and disjointed experience because we just keep adding more and more and more to the courses, but we have no idea if those courses are actually working. And this means that we are finding that your learners are having a fragmented learning experience and your firm investment dollars are either being underutilized or even wasted, right? So you can give me a little head nod if any of you are kind of feeling that same level of pain. You can go ahead and move to the next slide. And so learning plans are, while we bring incredible consulting work and we bring great content and we have an incredible leadership academy and a management academy, we really have a full suite of learning services that we bring to firms. Hands down, the most valuable thing that we bring is the work that we do in taking the pain off of the firms in order to build out these learning plans. So for some of you, you're like, great, sign me up, Danielle, how can we do that? Some of you don't have the budget to be able to do that. We still want to impart our wisdom of the lessons we've learned over the last several years of building out hundreds of learning plans to help you to be really successful, to make sure that they're really going to be spot on. What I'm not going to tell you is that it's easy or that it's fast or that there's a quick way to be able to real quick, can we just bang out a learning plan? Again, you're perfectly aligned to get the results that you're currently getting. So this is going to take an investment of time and resources. But the good news is when you actually build out these learning plans, and especially when you do a good job of communicating how you connect those learning plans to a career path or the overall development experience of a team member, man, we're doing all of this for retention, right? For retention and faster team member development. There is no doubt that that is what we're in the game to do. So a learning plan communicates the investment your firm is making in employee development. I encourage you to even share your learning plans as part of your recruiting process, that you're so serious about it as a firm of the investment you're making that you want to be able to share that. It creates clarity when they start to see, what does a learning plan look like as I continue to progress? And without a doubt, speed. And right now, any of you who have built a learning plan are throwing me the middle finger or are wanting to throw a nasty emoji my way. You're like, these are not speedy. No, it's not speedy to build that. The outcome and the results that you get is incredible because we need to be developing talent faster. Talent is more expensive than ever. And in many ways, especially for our new college grads that have been recently joining our firms, COVID did a doozy on the development experience. And so as firms, it's falling to us to get caught up. What a learning plan does is it much more rapidly develops your team members. And so it's a connection point that is worth making. It establishes a critical connection between the learning team and the department. So for those of you who are sitting in the seat that I sat in for a long time as the director of learning and development, you get to then be proactively partnering with those department heads to be able to do that needs assessment and to be able to provide a real service and helping to proactively drive the learning outcome for those learners. Accountability. Our learners, our firms love the fact that they can go in and not just look at the transcript, but they can actually go in and look at the fantastic learning plans that are built out to be able to see where is someone tracking within this. So not only did they attend, but did they learn? Like I said, it is absolutely going to require an investment of time and resources, but it does pay substantial dividends. And then the last point that I'm going to make before I hand it over is that the other thing that you can do is what we call a recommended course list. So at Spiirall, we use learning plan and recommended course list sometimes interchangeably. So when Anna's speaking later, you might hear her say recommended course list or RCL. Here's the deal. Here's the difference between the two. Learning plans, of course, live within LCvista. They give a very targeted direction of what content to take and when it is that they should take it, which works beautifully, especially early on, maybe through years 5 to 6 of one's career. But what the heck do you do for your managers? What the heck do you do for your senior managers or your principals? Well, that's where we also recommend going through the same process that Anna's going to work through to help you to curate a really fantastic learning plan. But instead of it living in LCvista, where they might not need quite as much prescription into their learning, it's just a simple PDF that you put together of recommended course lists that the firm has still determined is going to be solid. And so this provides consistency. So everybody's taking the same leadership development courses. Everybody's going to be, taking the same time management courses, as opposed to, again, that fragmented scenario that many of you are experiencing right now. So Micah, why don't you talk a little bit about learning plans within LCvista?
Amazing. Thanks, Danielle. Yeah, so before we get to hear Anna share more about how to curate the best learning plan, I wanted to just highlight some things to be aware of when you're actually building the learning plan within LCvista. So I wanted to touch on 4 things. First, to consider what the user experience will be or what you want it to be when they're engaging with that learning plan. Be aware of and mindful of the different types of requirements that you can define within a learning plan. What to be aware of when linking content. And then I wanted to just share a little bit about the reporting functionality that we had available. So with that, user experience. So 2 kind of paths to consider here. First is how would you like your professional to engage with a learning plan? There are 2 different options. The first of which is you're just offering the learning plan. It's available through your catalog, and that allows someone to come into the catalog and search for specific criteria to find that learning plan. The other pathway is through assignment. So you can say this individual or this group of individuals must complete this learning plan. It's a requirement, and they have this due date that they need to complete it by. And with that, there are a number of notifications that can be made available. So you can keep on those individuals to complete that requirement. The second thing to consider with around user experience is just to be mindful of the LCvista registration process that's tied to learning plans. And the registration process is really meant to help walk an individual through what the requirement is, what's available for them to take, and give them the opportunity to enroll in it. And there are 3 different registration workflows that can be enabled. The first is you want the individual, the professionals, to register for everything up front, enroll in all of the things that they plan to take towards completing that requirement. The other registration option is to not enforce registration, but to allow them the opportunity to go back into that workflow to get help with seeing what's available to take, but they wouldn't be required to choose and enroll in everything up front. That would just allow them to jump back into that workflow, see what's next to take and what's available for them to take. The third option is to disable registration entirely. So you don't want to use that. You don't need to walk them through that registration workflow. You just want to provide them with all the content that's going to be made available for the learning plan, and then the individual would have access to go through that content as needed. When considering these 3 different types of registration, especially if you're leaning towards the enforced registration type, so requiring that an individual pick everything up front that they plan to take, with that registration type, there's the opportunity to enable auto registration, which will simplify the registration workflow in cases where what you are requiring is equivalent to what is being offered. So there is no choice. These are really all the things that a professional needs to take, in which case you could enable auto registration so that that process is really I'd like to take this learning plan, register, complete, done. Now, what's the next thing for me to take within this learning plan? The second thing I'd like to talk about and speak to briefly is just the milestone structure, the learning plan structure. So the learning plan is really the shell in LCvista, and within that we refer to milestones as these different segments of criteria that needs to be complete. So in the case of that onboarding example, perhaps you have a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day requirement that might be broken out to these 3 different milestones, or maybe it's based on topic. In any case, for those milestone requirements, you have the opportunity to define what is required. Is it sessions? Is it 10 sessions need to be completed to be marked complete for the learning plan? Is it credit-based, 25 credits? Or to Danielle's point, I know she was referring to something outside of LCvista, but we also offer elective milestones. So if you just want to recommend a collection of content that would be helpful or useful as supplemental material, you can also use an elective to organize all of the content that should fall within that. And then we can move to the next slide for linking content. So we've talked about what a user's experience will be like when engaging with the learning plan, with registering for it, what the milestone requirement options are. The third thing to consider is what the process looks like to actually link the content that will be valid to meet those milestone requirements. And it's really dependent on the type of milestone requirements that you are defining. So if it is credit-based, you'll have the opportunity to link programs and sessions that are valid to meet that requirement. If it's session-based, you'll have not only the option to link programs, but also if you're using LCvista and our activity functionality, you can also link activities. So if you want to introduce little bursts of knowledge and learning opportunities within your milestones as a way to ask review questions or take quizzes or self-attest to reading certain material, that's a nice way to slip in those informal learning opportunities within your learning plans. It's also just, again, important to just be aware of the type of requirements for each milestone, especially if you are would like to utilize auto registration. So making sure that if your requirement is 10 sessions, that if you want to use auto registration, that you are only making 10 sessions available to be enrolled in through that experience. The third thing I wanted to highlight to be mindful of in respect to linking content is just to understand what the length and lifespan of your learning plan is and what content you are linking. So if something does expire and it's no longer available to take, that you're aware of that and can go in and replace it or add a new version of that particular program or course.
Micah, before we move to the next slide,
Great.
there's a relevant question on this. So, can you enforce the order in which they take the classes when you do auto registration?
Yes, you can. So registration just refers to walking a professional through what they need to enroll in. But after that's completed, after they've registered, you can enforce the order in which the actual sessions need to be taken. So you can enforce the program order when you're linking content so that program A needs to be completed before program B is accessible to launch or participate in. So you can do that, yes.
Another question is, can you explain updating a program within a milestone? Will it affect learners who already completed the program within the plan?
Yeah, so great question. You absolutely can. So the way that works is if as long as you are not removing something that has already been linked, and especially something that someone has already completed towards that learning plan, any updates to the learning plan in respect to linking content won't impact users that are already passed. You can always add more content, and what that would mean is that it's just more, there are more options for a professional to take if they are re-engaging or engaging for the first time with that learning plan.
Thank you, Micah. Well, we have time reserved at the end for questions, so we will definitely address the questions you're asking in conferences. I hope. Thank you for submitting them.
Thanks, Fatima. Okay, lastly, before I hand it off to Anna, I just wanted to touch on the 3 reports that are available within LCvista, or 2 specific learning plan reports. First, we have people by learning plan. So if you want to do a deep dive on the user learning plan relationship, what Jane Doe completed and what is her specific status in all of the sessions she's chosen to take towards that learning plan, the people by learning plan would be the best bet, as that will give you all of the detail both about the user and the user status in that learning plan and the learning plan itself. Versus the learning plan status highlights report allows you to get a high level overview across a number of learning plans. So if you really just want to see, all of your professionals in the Seattle office and whether they are complete for the learning plans they've been assigned, that would be a better report to pull, as you can look at a number of learning plans in the same report. The third report that I wanted to highlight, really twofold, are session reports. So we have our user record and info report that are specific to sessions. And those reports are useful if you want to see the sessions that individuals are taking or the sessions that exist that are also tied to a learning plan. So in that instance of, I want to see what's expiring at the end of this month, and is it associated to a learning plan that I now need to make sure I have new content updated to, that would be a great way to highlight what's expiring, identify what it's associated to in respect to learning plans, and then manage them further from that point. So I know a lot of information covered in a short amount of time, but hopefully you have some more context for what that looks like in LCvista as we're listening to Anna share more about how to curate the best learning plan. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I wanted to take a few minutes to take a step back, because before you can build the perfect learning plan in LCvista, you have to start with a clear vision of what you want to achieve. Creating this vision, or I think of it as framework, because I'm an accountant and I love frameworks. So it involves several key steps. As you can see here, first, it begins with gathering ideas from relevant stakeholders. Make sure you get the right voices in the room. You can brainstorm, no limitations. I call it crowdsourcing because, if it was up to me, everybody would learn what I want them to learn, but I want to make sure that they're learning what the clients need. So you want to make sure that the variety of perspective on the essential skills and attributes are gathered. Once you've collected these inputs, the next step is to consolidate them, identify common themes, core competencies that stood out, and from there, you will want to filter out any irrelevant or duplicate ideas to streamline your framework. After that, it's time to level the competencies, because your employees are at different levels. So you are defining what proficiency looks like at different career stages. Then you can group these competencies into categories or clusters to make the plan more organized and easier to navigate. Finally, the framework should be validated. You go back to your stakeholders and you get feedback from your subject matter experts, or you run a pilot test to make sure it's accurate and effective in real world scenarios. If you invest some time in the structured approach, that will help you build a solid and effective learning plan in LCvista, and it will meet the needs of your organization. This approach I brought to Spiirall from my academic work, because before Spiirall, I was a director of Masters of Accounting program at a business school, and I was able to redesign their curriculum. So we took it step by step. And before that, I was a CPA for 20 years. So I brought all of that to Spiirall to help them. And here I wanted to make sure that I kind of give you an example of what I did for specifically CAS curriculum, because that was my first project. Danielle gave that to me as my first project when I started last October. So here's what we did. The first step in creating this competency framework, this vision of what you want your employees to know, is all about gathering ideas, wide range of sources. You'll want to tap into your existing frameworks, what's out there. I pulled the CPA exam blueprint. I pulled the relevant books. I attended webcasts. I chatted with industry peers. I attended conferences to get all kinds of insights, mostly from our clients. What is it like at your CAS department? By pulling ideas from these diverse channels, you can make sure you are covering all the essential skills. That was my biggest fear, that I leave something out. So I just threw everything in this big pot. It's a brainstorming session. What do you need for success in this CAS role or in another role in your field? So this approach helps to create a well-rounded and effective framework right from the start. Here's an example of our process to build a comprehensive CAS learning plan. So everything was in Excel, because again, I'm an accountant, I love Excel. And I wanted to share with you this spreadsheet that I don't know if you can see, but it's over 600 rows long. So our brainstorming session ended in over 600 topics that can be viewed as necessary competencies. So they're going to go somewhere on your training list. So that's what we started with. So you can appreciate the breadth of work that I was doing here. But after brainstorming, you throw everything in the big pot. The next key step is to consolidate, unpack, and align all the insights you've gathered. This means like taking broad concepts like understanding accounting and breaking them down into specific actionable topics, like the difference between accrual and cash method, how to work with debits and credits. Do you know accounting terminology? For example, if you're focusing on monthly close processes, you can see here, you'll want to dive into topics such as navigating the chart of accounts, making adjusting entries, understanding the trial balance, creating financial statements. And similarly, if you're exploring financial metrics, it's important to kind of zero in on specific indicators that align with your or your client's organization's objectives. And when it comes to cash flow management, you'll need to break down the process into actionable steps that fit, again, your client's unique needs. By carefully consolidating and aligning these details, it gives your brain a break, right? Because you're not looking at 600 rows in the spreadsheet anymore. And you're building this stronger framework that ensures that your team has the precise knowledge and skills that they need to excel, in this case, in client accounting services. So when we were in filtering and leveling stage, we went back to our stakeholders. In this case, it was CAS leaders at our client firms, because their input is invaluable for this, for the fine tuning of the framework, helping to figure out the competencies that are truly necessary at different roles and for their specific firms. For some firms, CAS is preparing financial statements to be audited. For some firms, CAS is doing payroll for their clients. So you might need to ask if a particular skill is really essential for your employees, or it's more relevant at a different level. Maybe they're doing fractional control or fractional CFO work, so that probably should go there. So by collaborating with the CAS leaders, we made sure that the competency framework we were building not only reflected the real world demands of these roles, but also clearly defined the skills needed to succeed in various positions within the client accounting services. So you can see again a snippet of my spreadsheet that I created and sent to the clients. And I said, okay, do they need to know fixed assets, accounting for fixed assets at level 1 or level 2 or level 3? Do they need to understand ESG reporting at level 3 or level 4 or level 5? So everybody provided their input, we consolidated it, and here's what we moved to. This was the stage that we call grouping stage of developing the competency framework that we were building that will be the basis of the learning plans. We organized, and again, those people who are in CAS will have a full appreciation, because to be in CAS, you need to know all of the accounting. That's what it comes down to. And you cannot teach all of the accounting in one cycle of learning and training. So we essentially ended up with 6 levels of client accounting services. I think of them as years too, but you know, you can think of them, some people will stay on the same level, maybe more than 1 year. But level 1, level 2, and level 3, as well as controller 1, you can show the next slide, Fatima, because there one slide was not enough for all these levels. Controller 1, controller 2, and CFO roles. So each level marks a step up in responsibilities and expertise designed to match the varying needs of the clients and the complexity of the work involved. And you can see that the topics or the competencies are getting more complex. Grouping these roles in this way helps us define clear career paths. How cool is that? That's the beautiful side effect of creating it. The person will know what they need to learn or to do, to experience, to get to the next level. So the skill development opportunities are created with the same, in the same process. So offering guidance for both current team members and new hires, it gives them a clear path. So by establishing these groupings, we were aiming to create a more structured, again, approach. I'm all about the structure, and making sure that it aligns with the demands of the CAS field too, because it's not just one level of service, it's a range of services. So now, during the validation stage of our framework build out, we went back to our clients for their approval. So this picture is how I'm imagining our clients reacting to the spreadsheet that I sent to them, standing up and giving a round of applause in front of their computers when they received the final worksheet from me. Okay, that might be a stretch, but you know, I can dream. Their feedback on all the 6 levels of CAS competencies we've developed is very important, because we're developing it for them. We want to make sure this framework doesn't just look good on paper, but it actually works in real world. Their input ensures it meets practical needs. It helps tackle the challenges they face every day. And we're all about collaboration at Spiral. So we were excited to get any input on what we were building. We always do that. I love the slide so much I might stay there, but okay, let's move on. So now that we built the framework, we are putting together this competency framework. We step by step, level by level. Now it's all about finding and mapping the right training content to the skills and proficiencies we've laid out. As Danielle mentioned, we have a wide variety of vendors, providers. A lot of them are great. By getting our hands on the best training materials and aligning them just right, we are setting up our clients' team for success. This approach doesn't just help everyone grow in their role, but it also makes sure our whole organization stays sharp. So this picture is kind of like essentially what I did digitally, right? This lady is looking at the books in the library. I looked at the courses in our catalog, which is pretty extensive. We took a deep dive into providers such as Becker and Surgeon and LumiQ and Open Sesame. We have our clients have access to all of them. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to help curate them, right? So I started mapping. By mapping each course to the competencies we've identified, we were able to spot where we might be missing some key training materials. So if you look here, again, another spreadsheet, but what you see highlighted is that where there was a topic, there was a competency that our clients said their people needed, but there was no course. There is no course on how to do fixed assets and depreciation. Go figure, right? In our catalog. So I came to Danielle and I said, here are the gaps that we have identified in our process. And she said, well, go create training then, go fill the gaps. So that's what I did. So creating these technical courses is no small feat, let me tell you. It takes time and dedication, and that's what we do full time, right? So for example, I'll give you an example. We started with the foundations. We started with a course that's called Foundations of Accounting. We are just identifying 30 basic terms and explaining how it all comes together. Like what's a debit, what's a credit, what's an asset, what's a liability. And it took me full 7 hours to kind of draft the presentation and create practical handouts for our team. So it does take some time, but you want to make your learning experience engaging. You want them to not just sit back and check their mail while they're listening to you, right? You want them to be involved and learn something. So we've reached out to guest speakers like CEO. Danielle was my guest speaker on the first webinar. We pulled in CAS leaders from client firms. We pulled in some respected accounting professors who have who have experience teaching. And, not all of the topics might be in our area of expertise. So we didn't hesitate to bring the subject matter experts to ensure that content is spot on and relevant. So we created a new offering. We'll call them CAS Insights. So now that I've mentioned that, and I know that so far I've been focusing mainly on technical skills, but I wanted to make sure I didn't get Danielle upset, because she knows, and everybody knows, that such skills, as we call them success skills, are very important to be integrated into your learning plan as well. So, while being technically proficient is important, skills like communication, leadership, problem solving are key for working well with clients and within your own team. So by including success skills training in our framework, we made sure our team members excel not only in their technical expertise, but also in their ability to interact effectively with clients and build strong relationships. This is the T-shaped professional model. I don't know if you've seen it, but it came from AICPA. This particular one was shared at the Massachusetts State Society conference that I went to. But the vertical bar represents deep technical expertise that is expected from accountants now. And the horizontal bar represents a wide range of success skills and business knowledge. So you have to combine these skills with, you know, in your learning plans to make sure your employees are well-rounded professionals capable of communicating, collaborating, and adapting to various client settings. So then I wanted to share with you the final outcome. This is now that we've addressed the gaps, we've integrated the success skills in our competency framework. It's time to create this tailored learning plan for each level. These learning plans outline a structured path for continuous growth and development. And again, they encompass both technical mastery and those success skills that we talked about. This is just an example for you. Here's the learning plan for auditors level 1, because we do it for TAS, we do it for audit, we do it for tax, we do it for advisory, we even do it for the administrative staff. As you can see, it includes required technical skills. Those are the milestones that Micah was talking about. What's required in terms of technical, what are your optional electives, and what are the success skill courses that you have to take. So this is a nice example of what we put together before we build it out in LCvista. So before I turn it over to Adrian, let me just reiterate one more time that by tailoring training to your team's needs and career goals and your organizational goals, you will ensure that they're ready to provide top-notch client service and success in the ever-changing world of public accounting. Thank you. Adrian?
Awesome. Thank you very much, Anna. That was great. I think our clients are going to find a ton of value in that. It was super helpful. I'm going to go ahead and share. If I can take over from you, Fatima. I really quickly just wanted to touch on one thing as it relates to content marketplace. I think one thing we've identified talking to a lot of our customers is that oftentimes, as you identify gaps in the content that you currently have access to, for example, when you're building these great learning plans out, it can be pretty complex to go out and try to find the right content offerings, to go through the sales cycle and obtain that content, and then ultimately load it into your LCvista site. And so as LCvista serving as the hub for all your learning and CP compliance needs, our goal is to help streamline that process. And with our great vendor partners like Spiirall, for example, we've created an offering where you can, within the product, logged in as a default administrator or a marketplace transaction admin, go in and actually search for specific content you need based on those requirements you have and those gaps in the content that you currently have available to you entirely within the product, complete a purchase of that entirely within the product, and load it into your account near instantly. And so you don't have to worry about any of the tedious work that's involved, creating the content or putting the content into your account, updating the metadata, updating the files that's needed. We can all do that for you. And so I'll just take a few minutes before the Q&A to walk through what that looks like for you inside of the LCvista products. You can see here that I'm showing the content marketplace library page. You can find this page by navigating to the marketplace in the bottom left corner of the site when logged in as those appropriate roles, as I mentioned. And what I'm going to do is just show you, since we have our great partner Spiirall on the call, content from Spiirall that's available inside the marketplace. These are just some of the initial offerings that we have in there today. I would imagine we see this library continue to expand as time goes on, but it's very easy to go in, filter based on a vendor, especially one you may already be familiar with, and then click into that particular content to get an idea of what the objective of the content is, as well as what credits may be awarded. From this page, what you can do is you can add either individual programs to the cart, individual seats. I can set a specific seat count here, for example. Otherwise, I can dive back into the library, and if I know that maybe, hey, I'm interested in all 6 of these great products that are available, I can do from a table view a bulk add ability and add each of these, maybe set a couple seats because I know I need 5 seats in these, and then go ahead and add them to my cart. Once I've done that, very familiar e-commerce purchase process of managing your cart, just taking a second to load, updating the quantity, seeing what the pricing is, and then ultimately completing the checkout process. And this is something we're really, really excited about. That's really cool and has shown great success already, which is once you complete that transaction, and I'll skip it for the purposes of not entering your credit card live on the call today. But once you complete this checkout transaction and receive confirmation, this content is loaded into your account immediately. There's basically no delay. Maybe if you have a much larger purchase, it'd be a couple of minutes. But once I complete this checkout process, I can jump into the managed training page. I can filter based off of that purchase training. And in this example where I've purchased Spiirall content, I can go in, I can see that content now that's available to me within here. I can preview it, do basically all the same things I can do with other content that's loaded into my account, enroll my users, go ahead and add it to those great learning plans we've been working on, and really clean up that part of the process, make that part of actually obtaining the process all that much easier. We're really excited to release this. Like I said, we've seen customers use it with great success so far. We're really open to feedback. So as you go in here, if you have questions about content availability or any other feedback specific to Content Marketplace or any part of the product potentially, we're always willing to hear it. You're welcome to share it with your account representative in our team. We're happy to have conversations to talk about how we can improve Content Marketplace to bring additional value for your team. But yeah, thank you very much for your time, and thanks for taking a look.
Thank you.
I will hand it back to you, Fatima, for the Q&A.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Adrian, and Danielle, Anna, Tony, and Micah. That was super insightful. We're doing great on time. We have a bunch of questions, so I'm going to read them out to you. So let's get started. Is there an LCvista notification that shows expiring programs and the programs to which they're linked?
I can speak to that. We don't have a notification, but you can schedule a report. So you could curate a report within LCvista, make sure, filter it by maybe specific sessions that are linked to learning plans or specific learning plans, and make sure you're looking at the expiration date, and then schedule that at a cadence so that you can always see kind of what's coming up that's going to be expired. So not a notification, but a report. The session info.
Thanks, Micah. I think, Micah, the next question is also for you. When a course within a learning plan expires, does it remove from the learning plan, or does it have to be manually done manually and milestone number adjusted?
It is our guidance that you never remove a program that has been linked to a learning plan, especially if there are professionals that have already completed that towards completing the learning plan requirement. So you'd want to leave it in there. But if that is still something you need to fulfill or replace, you would just add the appropriate new program. And what that will do for past users is there's no impact, their status remains the same. But for new users that engage with the learning plan or registering, that they'll just see the new active session that's been added. So don't remove, just add, and that should work appropriately through registration and for new users engaging with that learning plan.
Mike, I think you answered this question earlier, but it's one of the most popular questions, so worth asking again. Can you explain updating a program within a milestone? Will it affect learners who already completed the program within the plan?
Again, yeah, you won't want to remove any programs. And by updating, you're really just expanding the list of content that can be completed to meet the requirement. Where it will impact the registration process is if you have chosen or were wanting to use auto registration. If you increase the number of programs linked that don't match with what the requirement is, then the auto registration functionality won't activate. So that would be something to consider. But as long as you're just replacing something and not adding, auto registration will remain intact. You won't impact users that are already passed, and it will solely impact those users that are engaging with it for the first time. Let me know if that didn't answer the question, or we can talk later for whomever asked that.
Yeah, let us know in the chat if you need more or you can submit another question. Do you have any recommendations or best practices around expiring courses within a learning plan?
I think that one's also for me. I think that I would just answer that question in this way, which is, again, it is our recommendation that you don't remove anything that's already been linked so that you remain the integrity of those users that have already completed the learning plan or are in progress. And if you do need to expire or something has expired, that you're really just replacing it. So you're ensuring that there's still content that can be taken to meet the requirement. In the cases of auto registration or just any registration, really, they're just replacing, so there's enough to be take to complete the requirement, but really making sure that you're not removing anything to impact those that have already passed the learning plan or completed it.
Somebody raised their hand. I'll let you ask a question.
Sorry, I did not mean to click the raise hand button. Sorry.
Oh, did you do that by mistake?
Yes, I'm just trying to click the chat button, but
Oh, okay, all good. No
Sorry.
problem. No worries. The next question is, Mike, I think a lot of these are actually for you. Can you enforce the order in which they take the classes when you do auto registration?
Yep. Again, so registration is separate from actually taking the content within the learning plan. So registration, those settings refer to what a user's first engagement with the learning plan is. After registering and finding the sessions that you want to take, there's a separate setting within the learning plan framework that allows you to define the order in which those sessions they've enrolled in should be taken. So yes, those can be used in parallel.
Do you want to ask your question?
Sure. This is regarding auto registration. One of the things that I've occasionally come across is that our learning plans go out, say, a year, right? They have a year to complete them. And we use Becker, and courses just are automatically, we don't know when they expire, right? So what I've found is that I get emails for people when they go in and they enroll in everything. They register for everything, like before at the start, before actually starting, because then what happens is when they register for, say, a course at the beginning of when their learning plan starts, by the time they get to the end of it, the course could have been replaced already, and then they don't have access to the old course anymore. So I find that I have to unenroll them in the old thing, the one that expired, and then enroll them in the newer, the one that I've added, the replacement course that I've added to the learning plan that, is visible to people who are later, who look at it later on. That's just comments.
Heard loud and clear, and that makes sense. Professionals in that circumstance would be able to go back through registration, update, and pick a new course, but I certainly hear that that's not straightforward, and we can certainly improve that process. So I appreciate that feedback.
Hi, thank you all. This is Latoya from Kaufman Rosin. So this question is kind of leading back to what you may have started to respond to, Micah, in regards to learning paths and updating courses that are already, or programs that are already on the learning path. So if we need to update a program or revise it, not making drastic changes to the content, but updating links that are broken, and we're replacing the SCORM with a new SCORM, will past learners see the old information, or will they see the new content? And then also the thing is that we've attempted to update a program. However, the past learners are still seeing the old content.
Specific to SCORM in this scenario.
And this is in a learning plan. Yeah.
The behavior for updating SCORM won't change between whether it's a standalone program or in a learning plan. The behavior there should be the same. And I'm trying, I might need to get back to you on this one, but I believe in Tony, anyone else on the call that knows the behavior, an existing user who was already enrolled and launched that SCORM content would still be directed to that package, but any new users who enroll and launch after it's been updated would be directed to the new. And in both cases, as long as that program and its sessions remain linked to the learning plan and not expired, it would still be accessible to register for through the learning plan and then also launch through the learning plan itself. If that's has not been your experience, or if we want to talk about that more, LaToya, I'm happy to connect with you after this.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. The next question is there a notification for learners who are assigned and enrolled in a learning plan if you need to make participants aware of changes?
We do have a learning plan assignment notification that you can either trigger manual or automatically as an individual joins a group that's been assigned. You can also trigger that through the manage users menu to any users that have been assigned or will be assigned, and use that as a mechanism to communicate that message to the professional.
Can a learning plan have a rolling due date based on when people are added?
Yes, we have relative due dates. So not only can you say that an individual must complete or be assigned and complete this learning plan by state, you can also say as users join the group, they have 10 days from the date they join the group to complete the learning plan, 10, 30, 60.
Is there a completion certificate available when a learning plan is complete?
We do not support that currently. Certificates are issued per session contained in the learning plan as those are completed.
When a course expires, does the shell of the course have to remain in the learning path to reflect full completion?
Yes, again, do not remove linked content that you want to make sure the records are retained. Only add in the cases of replacing versions of courses that have already expired.
Will new users see the expired sessions within a milestone when you add an updated session?
No. So through the first phase of that registration, individuals will only have access to choose to enroll in content that is available to enroll in. So anything with a session end date, for example, that's in the past or has been expired will no longer appear within that registration workflow. And thus, once they've registered and are looking at their learning plan details, which is their view of the learning plan, they will only see those items that they have chosen to enroll in. Now, if someone in that case that Judy mentioned had enrolled early to a course that now has expired, their learning plan details will still reflect that this is a session now that they can't launch because it's expired, in which case the recommendation with our current structure is to go back into update registration and find a new session that can be taken to meet that requirement.
Micah, we have a follow-up question by Catherine. She's asking, how can we get prior users to see new content that was changed within the program of the learning plan?
Can you say that one more time?
How can we get prior users to see new content that was changed within the program of the learning path?
I'm not sure I'm following that question, but I think what's being asked is perhaps if we're adding more sessions to a program and you want to expose those new options, the way for someone to see that has already registered would be to navigate back into the registration workflow. So update registration to see what else is available and accessible to take.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello, this is Sarah from YHB. I had a question about Spiirall, and I was looking at the content in LCvista. Is there any types of catalogs that you have available that can show me the CAS curriculums or the courses that you have in CAS?
Yes, Anna, we can do two things. One is, so the CAS Insights curriculum is available through LCvista, through the content marketplace. And Anna, maybe you could follow up with Sarah or in a follow-up message, maybe have our CAS Insights flyer be sent out. and maybe I know we're finalizing plans for 2025 as we speak, but we can get that to you.
I will do that.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. We are on time, and we do have a few more questions. So what we're going to do next, we're going to share this recording and slides and a recap, also answers to the questions we answered during the session and weren't able to get to. So keep an eye out for that, and thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you found this webinar helpful.
So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.